everyone, this is Maki. Today, I would like to share the thoughts of Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator of the Gundam series. He recently appeared on a Japanese radio program, and I'd like to discuss what he said. During his conversation with critic Chiki Ogiue, Mr. Tomino shared his perspective on anime production. On my channel, I previously discussed Mr. Tomino's father and his views on war. This time, I'll discuss another part of that program. There's also an interesting story about Osamu Tezuka, often called a great manga artist in Japan, and Mr. Tomino. Now, before we dive into the main topic, let me make a quick announcement. I'm inviting support through memberships on my channel. For just 99 cents per month, you can get a name badge and special access to the comment section. Alright, then let's begin the explanation. First, I'd like to talk about Osamu Tezuka. Before presenting Mr. Tomino's perspective, it will be helpful to know a little about Mr. Tezuka. Mr. Tezuka is a highly respected manga artist in Japan. He is sometimes called the astonishing nickname, God of Manga. He passed away in 1989 and is no longer with us. Some anime fans in America may already know a little about him. One of his most famous works, Django Emperor, was once compared to Disney's The Lion King, with many pointing out the similarities between the two. This became a big topic when the San Francisco Chronicle reported on it. In Japan, many artists tried to organize a collective effort to formally question Disney about it. However, the incident never reached a clear conclusion. Later, Mr. Tezuka's family and the staff of his production studio released a joint statement. Mr. Osamu Tezuka was a fan of Disney. Had he known about the similarities between The Lion King and Django Emperor, he would have said so. Culture evolves through imitation. If such a great entity as Disney imitated his work, he would have considered it an honor. This was the official response from Tezuka Productions. What kind of impression do you have of Mr. Tezuka after hearing about this episode? Perhaps you imagine him as a great figure with a generous spirit who held sincere and honest beliefs about the evolution of culture. Many people in Japan see him that way too. Of course, Mr. Tezuka certainly had that side to him. However, human beings are never perfect. People who worked with him have shared stories suggesting that Mr. Tezuka was human too and not a flawless figure. In fact, Mr. Tomino's story this time was precisely about the shortcomings of Mr. Tezuka. Mr. Tomino spoke about how he first became involved in animation production. A production company animating Mr. Tezuka's work had posted a job opening. After seeing it, Tomino's mother suggested he apply. At the time, Tomino was a college senior and he decided to apply. He explained his reason for applying as follows: the company was only about 3 train stops away from my university. I thought going for the interview would be easy. In the end, Tomino was officially hired by the production company. Mr. Ogiue then asked was there a practical skills test or anything like that. Tomino replied half-jokingly, "Of course not." Production companies back then were at that level. Thus, Tomino became part of the team working on the anime adaptation of Astro Boy. This marked the beginning of his career in animation production. However, compared to today, the anime production environment back then was still very underdeveloped. Astro Boy was originally a manga that was published monthly in a magazine. Tomino's job was to adapt that content into an animated series. However, the anime was released weekly, one episode at a time. This meant that the manga storylines were being consumed at a speed more than 4 times faster. Consequently, the original material was quickly exhausted. This situation ended up having a major impact on Tomino's life. At one point, Mr. Tomino found himself in a situation where there was no story for the anime that was supposed to air in 3 months. It was then that he wrote his first storyboard, complete with detailed direction notes. He then submitted the completed storyboard to Mr. Tezuka. After asking Tomino a few questions about the story's progression, Tezuka approved it for official anime production. Regarding this experience, Tomino recalled, "This story might sound like I'm bragging, but it's not like that. It was a story created by a rookie who had just graduated from college. The production staff didn't say a word after looking at my storyboard. Mr. Tezuka asked me a few simple questions, and that was it. And just like that, my career in animation began. I was shocked by how loosely things were managed and that any production could begin under such sloppy conditions. A storyboard made by a complete newcomer could be accepted so easily. That was the caliber of work back then." The episode I worked on was Astro Boy episode 96. It's officially included in media releases. But please, whatever you do, don't watch it. This is how Tomino spoke about the very first story he ever created. From his own words, we learned that Mr. Tezuka easily approved a storyboard written by a newcomer. Alright, how would you interpret Mr. Tomino's remarks this time? Of course, we shouldn't forget that these were his own personal statements. He said something like, because the technical standards were low, I was able to start working in anime. However, this situation could also be viewed differently. Even as an inexperienced newcomer, he was given the opportunity to work on the front lines. The same can be said about Mr. Tezuka's response to him. Tomino described anime as being undervalued and considered low status compared to today. Alternatively, one could interpret this as Mr. Tezuka recognized Tomino's talent, and because he valued it, he allowed Tomino to create a story based on his work. Of course, keep in mind that this is only my personal opinion and includes some speculation. This is how Tomino began his career in animation. Was it purely by chance? Or did Mr. Tezuka have the insight to recognize the talent of a newcomer? We can't know for sure. But think about it for a moment. Tomino accurately remembers the story he was responsible for as episode 96. Would he remember it so accurately if it was a disappointing, unpleasant memory? The truth is unknown, but it is certain that it is a memory that is at least etched accurately in Tomino's heart. And it is also true that it was because of Tezuka that Gundam was born. Thank you again for watching until the very end today. I'll see you in the next episode.